What was the last one?
I'm looking it up now.
Okay.
It's the 21st, June 21.
June 21.
The quad was definite.
Before the storm.
John's term down. Albert
Where's Alicia?
These are Albert,
Alicia.
but he hasn't been reappointed by the commission as a
Oh,
whole.
okay.
And then Bruce is the commission as a whole too, so he'll probably my phone is.
Caesar? Oh, please.
We're ready.
Oh, that's, okay.
That clock is wrong.
Yes, that one's almost right.
Okay.
It's just those chickens.
Things change, it's like home. Maybe they'll just throw this building
Good luck.
Okay. Good afternoon. Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the City of Coral Gables Historic Preservation Board. We are residents of Coral Gables and are charged with the preservation and protection of historic or architecturally worthy buildings, structures, sites, neighborhoods, and artifacts which impart a distinct historical heritage of the city. The board is comprised of 9 members, 7 of whom are appointed by the commission, 1 by the city manager, and the 9th is selected by the board and confirmed by the commission. 5 members of the board constitute a quorum, and 5 affirmative votes are necessary for the adoption of any motion. Lobbyist registration and disclosure. Any person who acts as a lobbyist pursuant to the City of Coral Gables Ordinance Number 2006-11 must register with the city clerk prior to engaging in lobbying activities or presentations before city staff, boards, committees, and/or city commission. A copy of the ordinance is available in the office of the city clerk. Failure to register and provide proof of registration shall prohibit your ability to present to the Historic Preservation Board on applications under consideration this afternoon. Lobbyist is defined as an individual, corporation, partnership, or other legal entity employed or retained, whether paid or not, by a principal who seeks to encourage the approval, disapproval, adoption, repeal, passage, defeat, or modifications of any ordinance, resolution, action, or decision of any city commissioner, any action, decision, recommendation of the city manager, any city board or committee, including but not limited to quasi-judicial, advisory board, trust, authority, or council, or any action, decision, or recommendation of city personnel during the time period of the entire decision-making process on the action, decision, or recommendation which foreseeably will be heard or reviewed by the city commission or city board or committee, including but not limited to quasi-judicial, advisory board, trust, authority, or council. Presentations made to this board are subject to the city's False Claims Ordinance, Chapter 39 of the City of Coral Gables City Code. I now officially call the City of Coral Gables Historic Preservation Board meeting of July 19th, 2023 to order. The time is 4:05 p.m. Present are Ms. Donna Spain, Ms. Becky Rolando, Mr. Michael Maxwell, Mr. Garcia Pons, Ms. Michelle Dunash, Mr. Brett Gillis, and Bruce Ehrenhoft, and myself, Albert Menendez. Approval of minutes. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes to the meeting held on June 21st, 2023. Are there any changes or corrections?
We don't have them.
We don't have,
We didn't receive them.
can get minutes.
Well, we can't rule on them if we didn't receive them, so we'll go through. Notice regarding ex parte communications. Please be advised that this board is a quasi-judicial board and the items on the agenda are quasi-judicial in nature, which requires board members to disclose all ex parte communications. An ex parte communication is defined as any contact, communication, conversation, correspondence, memorandum, or other written or verbal communication that takes place outside a public hearing between a member of the public and a member of a quasi-judicial board regarding matters to be heard by the quasi-judicial board. If anyone has made any contact with a board member when the issue comes before the board, the member must state on the record the existence of the ex parte communication, the party who originated the communication, and whether the communication will affect the board member's ability to impartially consider the evidence to be presented regarding the matter. Next item on the agenda are deferrals.
Good afternoon. We have received a request for deferral for the application, case file LHD 2023007 for the historic designation of 932 Tendia Avenue.
The
They
property
would
at
like to-
932 Tendia Avenue is before you for consideration for
Sorry, could we
designation
stop
as a
the
local historic.
presentation? They would like to request deferral for 30 days to the August 16th meeting. Staff is in support of this request.
Okay. Swearing in. If any persons in the audience will be testifying today, please rise to be sworn in. Okay, first case file COA SP 2023-014, an application for the issuance of a special certificate of appropriateness for the property at 1042 Catalonia Avenue, a local historic landmark legally described as the east 8.33 feet of Lot 1 and all of Lot 2, Block 21, Coral Gables Club, Section Part 1, according to the plat thereof, is recorded in Plat Book 8 at page 108 of the Public Records of Miami-Dade County, Florida. The application requests design approval for an addition and alteration to residence and auxiliary structure and site work.
Thank you. Before we begin, Stephanie was going to say a few things to the board, and we wanted to welcome our two new board members to the meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to welcome our two new board members, introduce myself. I'm the Deputy City Attorney. I sit with the Historic Preservation Board as your counsel. So I just wanted to make you aware that I'm here to help answer any questions you may have about the process, about individual items. I know you all have spoken with our great Historic Preservation staff already, but just wanted to introduce myself. And as we roll along today, if you guys have any specific questions about the process, please feel free to speak out, come find me, or ask in front of everybody is fine too. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you put the PowerPoint back up, please? Thank you. So this property is located on an interior lot on the south side of Catalonia between Granada Boulevard and Cordova Street, as you see here, just north of the location of the Biltmore Hotel. It was designed in 1925 by John L. Skinner, designated earlier this year in January, so many of you might remember this property. The application requests design approval for construction of an approximately 425 square foot 1- and 2-story addition to the southeast corner of the residence, some alterations to the residence and the auxiliary structure, interior remodeling, and minor site work. This project was reviewed quite a few times at the Board of Architects and was finally approved in July with the condition that the windows and doors shown on the elevations need to reflect the actual frame thicknesses of the windows that are being chosen. So the architect has already addressed that actually in the comment, and we'll be showing you the updated elevations as part of the presentation, and we're happy to continue working with them to get that mutton pattern correct. So there were a couple of conditions that staff had as conditions of approval. We can go over those at the end. I'm going to turn it over to the architect who is here.
Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Margina Demmer. I am the architect of record for this project, and I speak on behalf of myself and the owners when I say that we are delighted to appear in front of you today and present our proposed design for the renovation and addition to this beautiful Coral Gables home. As Kara mentioned, 1042 Catalonia Avenue is a 2-story single-family residence located on an interior lot in Coral Gables Country Club Section Part 1. The lot is 2 blocks north of the historic Biltmore Hotel and 2 blocks east of the Coral Gables Congregational Church. So it was permitted in 1925, and this is one of the first homes designed by John L. Skinner, built in the Mediterranean Revival style. The home with 2-story detached garage draws heavily from Spanish precedents. Key features include rectilinear massing and floor plan, projecting entry bay, arched openings, a distinctive chimney, a combination of roof types, barrel tile roofing, textured stucco, and recessed windows with projecting sills. These are existing photos of the home as it appears today. You can see that it has remained almost intact with no significant changes made over the last 97 almost years. This slide shows the west and south elevations, as well as the west elevation of the detached garage. Here you can see the north facade of the detached garage and images of the east facade, including a screened porch that sits at the southeast corner of the main house. It is our intent to preserve as much of the existing home as possible while adding new spaces and architectural features that complement the historic design and allow for a more functional plan suited to modern-day living. The extent of the scope of work that we are proposing for the addition is shown here on the site plan. As you can see, most of the changes occur on the east and south elevations. They are also set back from the primary facade and thus not visible from the street. As currently designed, the main living areas of the home are oriented east and look out on a narrow side yard and neighboring two-story home. Additional constraints and challenges include an outdoor laundry area, small kitchen and bathrooms per today's standards, outdated mechanical systems, and little closet or storage space. For context, these are photos of the two immediately neighboring homes. The one on the left depicts the two-story home immediately to the east. This is the existing second floor plan, which currently consists of 3 additional rooms and 2 small baths. It is worth noting that circulation at the top of the stair landing is narrow and awkward, particularly due to the door that currently swings out onto the roof terrace. For our design, we are proposing to enclose the existing screened porch at the southeast corner of the main house with a living room addition that replicates the concrete volumes of the original home. This allows us to reorient the kitchen, living, and dining rooms to face the south side of the property and look out to the backyard. At the second floor, a small gable roofed addition will house a den, which allows for better access to the new primary bedroom and bedroom number 4. The proposed changes to the interior plans have been carefully designed to minimize impact to the elevations, with no changes to the fenestration on the north or west facades. At the front entry porches, we are proposing to remove the existing metal picket railing, which is not original, and replicate the historic barrel tile design. Here you can see a rendered version of those same elevations. And here's a zoomed in view of the historic railing that I was referencing before. At the west elevation, the only proposed changes to the main house are to slightly shift one window to align with the grouping of windows at the second floor. At the detached garage, one window at the ground level will be replaced by an impact-rated door within the same width of the original opening. Also, a new concrete balustrade has been added on the stairs to meet code requirements. The balustrade will be recessed 2 inches from the original stair wall to maintain visibility of the original condition. And again, a rendered version of the same elevations. At the east elevation, a new breakfast nook replicates the proportions and aesthetics of the front vestibule volume. Here, one window will be converted to a door and side light within the same width of the existing opening. The new living room features 2 new fixed windows in the same proportion and style as the historic windows found throughout. In this same image, you can also see the small den addition at the second floor, featuring a new window and door opening out to an expanded roof terrace. And again, the rendered version. At the south elevation, the door leading to the backyard has been shifted east and fenestration has been added to allow light into the new library and living room. The parapet at the second floor has also been raised slightly to meet code requirements at the terrace. Again, here's the rendered version. And finally, we have provided 2 3D studies to show the view from the street from both the northeast and northwest corners. As you can see, the changes proposed are set further back into the property and are not clearly visible from the street or sidewalk. This is the northwest corner. In conclusion, we believe the design achieves the client's programmatic requests and accommodates their future family without compromising the integrity of the architecture. Additionally, we are in receipt of the staff's recommendations and are prepared to accept all conditions of their approval. This includes adding score lines to delineate between the addition and the original home, removing sills on new windows and doors, and keeping the window on the west facade in its current location. Thanks for your time. We look forward to your feedback.
Any questions? Comments?
Question, please.
Mr. Gillis?
Have you applied for the ad valorem, or is this not to the level of cost that's
We will
required?
be applying for the ad valorem, yes.
Mr. Garcia Ponce?
The window in the west elevation, what sheet is that one on? I just wanted,
It should be a 12, I believe. You have the set
Can you
there.
put the PowerPoint back up, please?
I can flip back to it.
so the one that, the first floor that was shifted on the center
Yeah,
line?
we agree to keep it in the original location.
Perfect, thank you.
Yep.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
I can go back here. Let me show
It is
you.
A12, you're right.
Yeah.
On page 12,
Sheet A12, yeah.
the
I
ground
think
floor
it's
window
in-
that they were going to scooch to a line, they're going to leave it where it is.
Doesn't have a pointer. Yeah? Oh, okay. Oh, okay, this window.
Okay.
We're going to keep it in its original location.
Okay.
I have a question.
Mr. Maxwell?
Thank you. You proposed on sheet A10 replacing the double windows with a double door. And then there's some comment about that as well.
Is that the east elevation? I just don't.
That's on the east elevation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay.
I see down in the proposed east elevation in the lower right-hand corner.
This one?
Yes, please.
Yes.
Is there a driving reason for that?
It's just to allow for a secondary entrance into the home. Right now, there is no convenience entry pretty much. So when you're driving through and using the driveway, it would act as a convenience entrance for the owners. There's also the way that the floor plan has been reorganized, that room there is sort of a back kitchen laundry. So it's almost like a service exit as well, trash and everything, not having to come out the front door or the main back door.
I mean, ideally, it'd be preferential if you could leave it. And because you're already making several, you've got other door openings down to the left, and I understand, the convenience of that going into a laundry room. But you've also talked about side lights. It would just be a double door. There would be no side light.
It's a single door with a side light, so it's not a double door.
It's a fixed, it'll look like a fixed door, essentially.
Right.
So,
Right.
I mean, those instances where people have wanted to open up doors to a side yard or a rear yard, as long as it stays within the confines of the window, eventually it could be built back up if it needed to be. So we were okay with that one.
Yeah, well, you've removed all the doors there except for this one. You've added this on the east side, and then you push them, I guess, back to the south side, and then you still have the same ones there on the west.
So just to clarify, this is the only door on the east, this single door right here. These are fixed windows. And on the south, there's only one
In the center.
door in the center, correct? Which is, oops, sorry, the pointer is this one, right here. Oops, sorry. So these are all fixed. These are casement.
Any other questions?
Actually, just one more regarding that door.
Sure.
Is there any intention to put an awning or something over it, since it's going to be with a window you don't necessarily need a cover, but opening and closing doors, you might want to have rain protection? I don't know if that's something that you want to consider.
We
prior
could
to
consider it.
approval.
Sure,
And just make sure it's coordinated.
sure, absolutely.
Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak in favor or opposition to this case?
Can we just verify there's nobody on Zoom?
Okay, then
Thank you.
I will close the public portion, and I am open for any motions.
Hi, I move to approve the certificate of appropriateness with the conditions noted in the staff report, which I believe applicant has already agreed to.
Yes.
I'll second that.
Okay, Ms. Rolando and Mr. Maxwell.
Okay. Ms. Spain? Yes. Mr. Menendez?
Yes.
Mr. Gillis?
Yes.
Ms. Rolando?
Yes.
Mr. Garcia Ponce?
To clarify, this is to approve the design proposal and the certificate of appropriateness. Is it?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Mr. Aaronhaft?
Yes.
Mr. Maxwell?
Yes.
And Ms. Denage? Passes. You're good to go.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Beautiful design.
Next case file, COASP 2023-015, an application for the issuance of a special certificate of appropriateness for the property at 1314 Milan Avenue, a local historic landmark legally described as Lot 3 in the east half of Lot 4, Block 3, Coral Gables, Davis Orchard Addition. According to the plat thereof, is recorded in Plat Book 9 at page 87 of the Public Records of Miami-Dade County, Florida. The application requests design approval for an addition and alterations to the residence and site work.
Thank you. So location map of the property, it is on Milan Avenue on the south side between Madrid and Ferdinand. The house was built in 1936, designed by Edine Parmalee, and it was made a local historic landmark in 1996, which is why I included the drawings, original drawings in the packet, because you guys have never seen this house before. So just wanted to make sure that, you know, you were familiar with what it was, what it is. So the applicant is requesting design approval for the construction of an approximately 1,460 square foot, two-story addition, again to the southeast corner of the residence, alterations and interior modeling and site work. So this property also went to the Board of Architects multiple times, finally got approval in June. I didn't have a copy of the Board of Architects comments, that it was approved with comments at the time that this was distributed to you all, but it appears that they've addressed them in the set that you have. Yes, okay. So there are a few conditions and a couple of observations that we had that we can take care of at the end, but. So there isn't a PowerPoint for this one either, so get your drawings out, follow along.
Hey, good afternoon, board. How are you doing? My name is Raul Alvarez. I'm the builder. The architect, Eduardo Lopez, I keep looking at the door to see if he's going to come in. He had a medical emergency with his wife a couple of hours ago, and he's actually on the way here. And he does have a PowerPoint presentation, but I am familiar with the existing home, and I may be able to answer any questions that you may have. What Eduardo, the architect, go ahead.
Mr. Chair, do we want to take this out of turn and just do the next one and come back?
Well, no, because the other architect isn't here either.
Perfect, thank you.
All right. Darn.
Makes it easy.
But thank you for trying. I'll do my best. So I am familiar with the home. One thing I did want to mention, the architect did review the staff recommendations from all of you, and he told me to express that he is in agreement with all of them, and he will, proceed and change the drawings to address those issues that you brought up. Now, as far as the existing, thank you, Karen. Appreciate that. So as far as the existing home, just like the last project, it's a beautiful home. It's a very small house. It was designed with 2 small bedrooms, bathroom in the middle, very typical of that time. It's very tiny kitchen. And it's very not in proportion to the size of the lot. It's a double lot. So the family, they have 2 kids, another one on the way. They're growing, and they need a little bit more house. So what we proposed to the city is, again, very similar to the last project, in the same location, a 2-story addition to the residence. And on the bottom, it's going to consist of a new kitchen, which they desperately need, some family room space, and a space for the dining table. And then upstairs, we're proposing a master suite to the house. This will enable the family to have an additional bedroom for the parents and more breathable room at the bottom, which they currently don't have. The house, I believe, went through 2 changes throughout the years. They added a master suite along the way in the back of the property. And then I think in a second phase, they enclosed a very narrow terrace that is adjacent to that master suite. I believe they applied for a permit to enclose that, and that's the existing condition right now. That enclosed terrace is a very awkward space. It's very narrow and very long, and that's what they currently use for their family room. So I'm sorry if I'm being a little bit lengthy, but I just wanted to give you why we're here and why we propose this addition to the home. I can tell you that we did our best to respect the original home. We're not affecting it in any way. We tried, and we were turned away not to. So it is going to remain intact. And I guess if you have any questions, I'll give it a shot.
Mr. Garcia Ponce.
Yes, I have just 2 questions. One is the interior of the house is going to be all flush at the same level. You're going to move remove this interior stairs to make it flush from the living area all the way to the new.
That's correct. Yeah.
And the steps would now be in the outside of the addition.
That's correct.
Thank
yes.
you. And I'm
Yes,
going to
sir.
have a couple questions about that in a minute.
All right.
And did the Board of Architects talk about the vents? Is that part of their conversation? Or?
They did, that they shouldn't be the same, and I don't think that they were changed on this one, or they were, or do they want them to be that way?
So the vents, I think, are reflected in the updated plans, but the Board of Architects had sketched up some changes, so they are actually bunched up a little bit closer together. I'm not.
On the length, the stairs.
Right.
That was
Yeah.
one of the
But
comments.
not the triangle shape.
Similar to the ones that are there now.
So probably over the windows versus
Yeah,
strewn
and they wanted
across
the window to be moved up a little bit because it's hitting the roof ledge.
Right.
So everything's amended in the sketches that they put on the BOA plans.
And that's part of our condition already. That's
Yes.
one of ours. Perfect. And then just one question maybe for the architect, and this is just not that relevant, but on the second floor proposed bathroom,
Yes.
the window that's being added is not in the center between the 2 vanities. It's lined up with the exterior window. I'm actually okay if it's not lined up with the first floor window. If for some reason you wanted to move that window to be centered between the 2 vanities, I would personally be okay with that. I don't know if the rest of the board would be, just FYI. And that would be page A2, the top
I want
drawing.
to see what it
Yeah.
looks like in elevation.
Yeah, A2, second floor.
Oh, I see.
Always done to, I think, line up the windows with the other windows. I think that was the reason behind that.
Absolutely.
It also could be a holdover from when there was the single, where there was the one over the cooktop down below.
That is correct. That was the starting point.
So that
for
could be,
pattern.
that could be where
That's
it
correct.
shifted away.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
This has been to Board of Architects 5 times, and
The first time it was a short panel. Really, it was not a good idea to go to a short panel because this is a big addition. But since then, we received very positive feedback from the board. And each time that we went back, it was not for anything major, but more so that the board wanted us with, understandably, to scale the addition as low as possible so that it wouldn't overpower the existing house in the front. And they gave us great guidance in order to do so. So each time that we went back to the board, it wasn't really for major things. It was kind of for roof line little details and window pattern details, mountain proportion details, things like that.
have all of their comments been incorporated in these documents?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
And
The BOA really wanted them to try to add things that would make it more tie into this house. I mean, it was a lot plainer when they started, and they had them introduce a lot of features that kind of brought it closer to this house.
And you're in agreement with the 8 conditions set forth by the department?
Yes, the architect, just about an hour ago, told me to make sure to tell the board that we are in total agreement and will be incorporating those recommendations into the working drawings. That's correct.
Okay.
I will note for you all, and I've told you all this too, there is a large oak tree in the corner of this property that needs to be addressed. So they know about it, they're working on it.
Arborist is on.
Carl, when you say addressed, you mean protected?
No, they're proposing to remove it, and so that's a hurdle they're going to have to get through.
And we're currently working with an arborist to do so.
Okay. Any other questions?
I have a few questions, please.
Mr. Gillis?
Page A3. Is the chimney moving? Because I'm looking at the bottom, it says existing front elevation north, and then the drawing above that, the chimney is not in the same location.
The drawings shifted. It drove me absolutely crazy.
No, but you look at the door on the bottom, you see the chimney is to the right. On the top, the chimney is above the door.
That's right.
Oh, on the existing, I'm sorry. I was looking at the rear elevation. Oh, yeah, you're absolutely right.
And actually, Kara, I don't remember which is the one that is accurate, whether it's above the front door or maybe we can see that picture again.
On the plan, it's in the same location.
Yeah, it's
but
offset.
on the elevation.
Right.
It's actually above the carport, that's correct.
It's offset.
Yeah, it's right adjacent to the kitchen area.
And that's not being moved or relocated, right? Okay.
But we'll definitely,
Yeah. I love
For
those
recording
mobile
purposes.
chimneys.
And then these 3 vents above on the second story, the 3 vents that are above the 3 windows, I would eliminate them completely. I don't think
Okay.
that those are.
The Board of Architects has a new drawing.
Those are the ones that were addressed by BOA. They're shifted to be in line with the windows now, and they make a little more sense.
Okay.
But aren't you kind of copying then something from the original rather than differentiating? I mean, the example I would give you would be I think it's 414 Alhambra Circle, very close to Lejeune here. It becomes almost like a McMansion where they're replicating certain pieces. It seems like it's gone back and forth a few times, so it's not a major detail, but
that's not something that we originally proposed, but it came up along with the changes that we discussed with the board, and it was just one of the details that was brought up.
okay. And what did they say about the massing of the French doors and the second-story balcony on the addition? I'm trying to figure out how far that's recessed from the original building.
That if we go to the site plan on the first sheet, you'll be able to see where that the addition is shaded, and there's a balcony that faces the front of the property, and that'll give you a relationship distance-wise between the existing facade and that balcony, where those doors are.
What page is that?
We're on the first sheet, A1.
You can see them on A2, blown up details.
A2. How many feet is it recessed from the original building?
That's approximately between 30 and 35 feet recessed from the front facade.
Okay. It doesn't look like that much on this drawing on A3, but I'm okay with that. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak in favor or opposition of this case? Okay, I'm going to close public portion. Any other questions, comments, motions?
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve with conditions noted in the staff report, the design proposal for the addition to the residence at 1314 Malone Avenue, and approve the issuance of a special certificate of appropriateness with the conditions noted above.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Garcia Pons and Ms. Rolando seconds.
Ms. Denoj? Ms. Rolando?
Yes.
Mr. Garcia Pons?
Yes.
Mr. Menendez?
Yes.
Mr. Gillis?
Yes.
Mr. Maxwell?
Yes.
Ms. Spain? Mr. Aaronhoft?
Yes.
Perfect. Done.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Board.
Yep. Next case file, COASP 2023-017, an application for the issuance of a special certificate of appropriateness for the property at 811 Alhambra Circle, a non-contributing resource within the Alhambra Circle Historic District. A lengthy legal description is on file with Historic Resources and Cultural Arts Department. The application requests design approval for the construction of a new swimming pool and pool deck. Variances have been requested from Article 2, Section 2-101D, 4A, I, and II, and Article 2, Section 2-101D, 5A of the Coral Gables zoning code for the location of the pool, pool deck, and equipment.
Mr. Chair, if you don't mind us taking a 5-minute recess, I think we're trying to track down the applicant to make sure they'll be here today before we hear the item, if that's all right with you.
Okay, 10 minutes.
Thank you.
Board members that are missing. No, but I got this. No, I don't need a sergeant at arms. I can hit people on my own. By the way. Well, you will soon enough. Okay.
Coffee machine didn't work, huh?
We're waiting on one more.
Alex Silva. Oh, good.
Okay. Case file, COA SP 2023-017, an application for the issuance of a special certificate of appropriateness for the property at 811 Alhambra Circle, a non-contributing resource within the Alhambra Circle Historic District. A lengthy legal description is on file with Historical Resources and Cultural Arts Department. The application requests design approval for the construction of a new swimming pool and pool deck. Variances have been requested from Article 2, Section 2-101D4A, I, and II, and Article 2, Section 2-101D5A of the Coral Gables zoning code for the location of the pool, pool deck, and equipment. Ms. Couts.
Thank you. So location map for the property on Alhambra, it's an irregularly shaped plot, which is the source of the request for you all. It was built in 1979. It is a non-contributing resource within the district. They are proposing to construct a new swimming pool, new deck, relocate some equipment in the rear yard, which is actually a front yard as well. So this is a current photo of the property. There is another permit that is underway for alterations to the property as well that won't be coming to you all. We're handling that administratively. So survey of the property as it is now. You can see where it sits on the property and what the issue is. So this is the proposal where the pool is going. The architect is here now, finally. And so the variances, the three variances that are requested have to do with the fact that this property is both irregularly shaped and also a through lot, which means it has two street frontages. In this case, it fronts onto Alhambra and it backs onto Navarre Avenue. And from a zoning point of view, it now has two fronts and is required to maintain a 25-foot minimum setback from the rear property line on Navarre to be consistent with the other front setbacks on that street. So as this is the rear yard and it is the appropriate place for a swimming pool, we are in support of the variances that are being requested by zoning. This is, we did ask for more information on the material of the proposed pool deck, and that can be just placed on the permit drawings for us. The architect is here and can explain or answer any questions. He does need to be sworn in, please. You need to be in front of a microphone, and if you want the small set here.
Good afternoon, board. Thank you for having me. And like Kara said, there's currently a permit into the city, and all is pending is approval of this so that zoning will sign off. All the other departments have signed off already.
Would you give us your name and address?
Minor detail. Albert Poza, 1900 Ferdinand Street, representing 811 Alhambra. So, yeah, the only thing left is the granting of the variance. Everything else has been addressed. There was very little Board of Architects comments. Those have been addressed. The bulk of the work is really in the interior. This is a house that absolutely nothing has been done to it since it was built in 1979. And I think the picture kind of shows that, unfortunately. So some of those aesthetic items will be addressed, but inside will be all new. So this is probably the quintessential hardship situation. You got an irregular shaped lot, which kind of doesn't help from side to side setbacks and so forth on the pool, although it complies as it is. But the fact that it's a small lot for all means and purposes, and fronts on Alhambra being the address and the main view of the house, and the rear is on Navarre, and it's basically it has two fronts, and the only place to put the pool is in the rear. And because it is a very narrow lot, you can't put the equipment on the side because then you'd be impeding on the side setbacks. So everything has to go to the rear. So there's no other way about it unless you knock down the house, build a flat roof, and put the pool in the rear, or in the roof. That's about the only way to get around it.
No.
So that's not going to happen. And we're not trying to even suggest that. So it's almost as a very easy yes or no type thing. The pool is not elaborate. The pool deck, as you see, it's just a couple feet all the way around. Little low wall in the back that serves as a little bench and some water feature. The coral rock wall in the back isn't being touched. We'll have to add some landscaping just for normal privacy. So everything will be addressed, and the material will be chosen. That's currently what the owner is doing, going around all the different tile places that we have in South Florida, which are, I don't even know if anybody else is anymore. And they're choosing their tile. It'll be appropriate. It'll probably be some sort of a coral rock type, keystone type of a look, because that's what they're going for. They're not trying to change the style of the house. To the contrary, they're just trying to update it, but keeping it within what it is. So that's about all I have to say on it.
No questions? Any questions?
Right.
We can't hear you, Ms. Spain.
Is this on now?
Yeah.
Okay. It says that the Board of Architects approved this with conditions.
Yes.
What were they, or is that here and I just missed it?
The conditions were the columns were fattened in the rear, in the rear terrace.
They have to do with the alterations to the house.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Not with the pool.
Not with this. And those, the plans that you have addressed all those conditions. In fact, the city architect or his department has already signed off on those conditions.
Okay.
Mr. Garcia Ponce.
I have one question for staff as opposed to, I don't think it has to do with the variance of the application in front of us. It's with regards to the existing tree to be removed. Do we have any purview over that?
No, I mean, not really, no. It's a permit application that they go through for public
And
service.
it's not a tree really worth saving at all.
We have no purview, so I
No,
have no comment.
No, I mean,
There used
It's-
to be a panel that reviewed staff, I mean, internal panel that reviewed tree removals. And I believe, as a preservation officer, I was on that.
Tree Review Board is no longer.
They took the tree review board away? Okay, so then I'm so outdated.
Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak in favor or opposition of this case? Okay.
Albert, that's a fig tree, right?
in the back, I don't think it is.
Like not a banyan,
It's a
but
sapodilla
ficus
tree.
or something like
Sa-
that.
yes,
Sapodilla.
Sapodilla.
Sapodillo.
It's a sapodillo, okay.
Okay. Public portion is closed. Would anybody like to enter a motion?
One more question, please.
Mr. Gillis.
These palms here, are they impacting the wall at all? I've been by this house, but not recently. I remember there were some trees or palms kind of pressing on the wall.
Between the wall and the sidewalk, which happens to be just 4 feet along that area, there's a gap, and I think that's where they're growing.
Okay.
It's in one of the photos.
Yeah.
Oh,
No. Okay. Any other questions, comments, motions?
Motion to approve.
so with
Lots of
the,
them.
There are 4 motions here.
right.
There are we got 4 motions on this, yes, we do.
If there is consensus among the board, you could, the same motion.
Certainly, if it's one motion to approve all 4 variances, you can certainly do that.
Okay. If you can place a motion for the 4 motions.
Okay.
So
in other
do
words, I'd like to
the
make-
first one, do the COA,
Okay,
and then another motion to approve the variances.
Yes.
That way
so
it's,
we're just going to end up with 2 motions?
That sounds good.
Okay, so motion number 1 to approve the COA at 811 Alhambra Circle, non-contributing resource
With the condition.
with the conditions noted above.
Second?
Mr. Gillis seconds it?
Ms. Bain?
Yes.
Mr. Menendez?
Yes.
Ms. Denaj?
Yes.
Ms. Rolando?
Yes.
Mr. Garcia Pons?
Yes.
Mr. Aaronheft? Yes. Mr. Maxwell?
Yes.
Mr. Gillis?
Yes.
And Mr. Chair, just to confirm, that included the one condition about providing information about the pool deck material?
He said that in the motion.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Sorry, I missed that part. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll make sure that once the client chooses or gives me a couple or 3 or 4 options, I'll get together with staff and we'll choose the appropriate one.
Okay, so now we have the second motion to approve the variance, correct?
Yeah, it would be a motion to approve all 3 variances requested. I can read them quickly if you'd like, just into the record. It would be
That
to
would be great.
grant the variance to allow the swimming pool, pool deck, and equipment to be located in the area between this street, Navarre Avenue, and the main residential building or any part thereof, versus no accessory building or structure may be located in the area between the street and the main residential building, as required by Article 2, Section 2-101D5A of the Coral Gables zoning code, to grant a variance to allow the proposed pool to have a front setback of approximately 15 feet versus the minimum front setback shall be 25 feet, as required by Article 2, Section 2-101D4A. 1 and 2 of the Coral Gables zoning code, and 3, to grant a variance to allow the proposed mechanical equipment to have a front setback of approximately 11 feet versus the minimum front setback shall be 25 feet as required by Article 2, Section 2-101D, 4A, 1 and 2 of the Coral Gables zoning code.
Second?
Okay, Mr. Gillis seconds it?
Great. Okay, Ms. Denaj?
Yes.
Ms. Rolando?
Yes.
Mr. Gillis?
Yes.
Mr. Garcia Pons?
Yes.
Mr. Menendez?
Yes.
Mr. Toronto's not here. Mr. Maxwell?
Yes.
Ms. Bain?
Yes.
Mr. Aaronheft? Perfect.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
This must have been the fastest historical board ever.
That was last month.
Last week. It would, if you would have been here, it would have been, but since you were late, no.
I tried to time it, but I was way off.
Albert was caught in historic traffic.
There you go. There
There
you
was
go.
a horse and buggy in front of me. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other items of discussion?
Good afternoon. I did have a few updates I wanted to provide the board before the meeting ends. We do want to welcome Ms. Dunay and Mr. Gillis as our new appointments to the Historic Preservation Board, so thank you very much for taking the time and volunteering your time for us. I also wanted to mention that we're still waiting on our 2 commission as a whole appointments to be made. This may not happen until the August 22nd meeting or sometime after that, meaning that Mr. Menendez and Ms. Aaronheft, we would appreciate you all continuing to serve and volunteering your time for us if possible, but we'll reach out in advance of the meeting to confirm everyone's attendance. Those appointments, you may continue to serve until those appointments are made. Any questions or anything regarding that? Okay. We are in the process of hiring an administrative assistant and catching up with our minutes, so we hope to have that actually getting a start date confirmed by the end of the week and getting that up and running, and hopefully by the September meeting, getting some minutes back up on the agenda for the past few months.
How many applicants did you have?
There was actually, I think, 40 applicants.
Really?
Yeah, there was a really impressive amount, and I think between the 40, there was 18 that actually met the criteria. So then it started dwindling from there. We interviewed about 5 in the first round, and we had some really good interviews. So it was choosing from there kind of kept going, and now we've got someone in the process doing the background and all the medical that's required, and so we're excited about that. The next item I have is at the July 11th commission meeting. There was an update request from Commissioner Anderson on the North Ponds historic designation. This was something that had been started in 2018. I gave a brief update about that application, and that staff's recommendation in 2019 was that the application that was submitted at the time did not meet the criteria and was maybe can be considered for further study as a more thematic designation. And that's kind of the update that we provided the commission, moving forward with something that would be more manageable, not at the staff level, but actually hiring a consultant. And so the commission actually requested that the finance department look into getting some funding from about $50,000 for a survey of that area and starting that process. We won't know more or any specifics about the funding until the fall budget hearings, so we'll have more updates as they come. Anything else? Any questions? Okay. And then lastly, just to provide you a quick update on our action to go paperless. I did send everyone the link to the agenda, so I don't know if anyone was able to kind of play around with it, use it, feel comfortable with it. Hopefully, we will be working with the clerk's office, like I had mentioned in the email, to get iPads for the next meetings. But we might be going hybrid a little while just to make sure everyone's up to speed with getting everything on board, being able to review the material so that you're prepared for the meeting. But just look out for that in the next couple of months. And that's it for me.
All right, thank you. Motion to adjourn.
Excuse me, a few items, please. I have. Thanks. City Hall windows. I heard that there's a plan to move forward with replacing these windows. Does that have to come to this board, or how is that being handled? I have not seen that come to this board, but I don't think I missed it, but I just wanted to make
It
sure.
should come to this board. I'm saying that should come to this board.
It should come to this board.
Okay.
Yes. There is a procedure for city applications to bypass that. But there hasn't been a discussion at this time. We haven't picked the manufacturer. No details have been worked out. It's in discussion because it's needed, but still working out the next steps.
Okay. Because that's kind of vague that it should come here. I mean, I don't know. How do we ensure that that comes back, that this board reviews that?
So there are provisions in the city code to allow city projects to waive this board if needed. That happens after a public hearing, I believe. I would have to look into the procedure again, but that has not happened at this point.
Okay.
So
Could you provide us an update at the next meeting as to what the procedure would be?
part of that is, the procedure, sure, certainly. I'm not sure the timing or where staff is in the process. And I know that the discussion was to look at the annex first rather than City Hall. So yeah, again, I'm not familiar with where we are in the process, but we can certainly give you the provisions of the code that apply to those city projects.
Okay, thank you. And I had one other thing. It was mentioned a few meetings ago about the Coral Gables cottages provision, the incentives for that being potentially expanded. Is there any update on that?
I do not have an update on that, but I could look into that meeting and what the request was and give you an update for the next meeting.
Thank you.
If there's any other feedback from that, please let me know.
Some of the houses that are one story, for instance, this one on Milan, I believe would have probably qualified. I mean, I haven't looked at it specifically, but there are some houses that are on a slightly bigger lot that, aside from being on a bigger lot, they meet the criteria. It's only because of the lot size. So they're not getting the incentives unless they apply for a variance, it's my understanding, when they really shouldn't have to do that. So that was my main concern.
Thank you.
I think the intent there was that when they're on a small lot, I'm sorry. The intent there was that if they're on a small lot, then they really do need those incentives to have the more reduced setbacks and the lot coverage. But if they were on a larger lot, that really wouldn't be necessary. They should be able to design something for those properties. But you're right, the architecture alone would stand as a cottage.
Yeah, any incentive, if it's a minor thing with a pool or something like that to help people, I would say go for it. Even if it's only a few feet here and there or something.
Yeah, we could look into that, maybe the proportions or something.
Thanks. That's it. Thank you.
Anybody else? Anything else? Mr. Garcia Ponce.
I'd like a motion to adjourn, please.
Thank you.
Second,
Mr. Maxwell seconds it.
third, fourth, fifth.
We're adjourned.
All right.
Okay, you got the.
Thank you.
You got the numbers right.
Hey, I know, this is good.